One goal, that's all that separates Kylian Mbappé from becoming the greatest goal scorer in World Cup history. One goal, and he's got two more chances to get there before this tournament even reaches the quarterfinals. But here's what nobody's talking about while everyone stares at that scoreboard. The same tournament that's rewriting the record books is also rewriting how far a host nation will go to win a football match before the whistle even blows. And those two stories are on a collision course right now. Let's start with the number everyone can agree is insane. Kylian Mbappé has 18 career World Cup goals. 18! He got there with a brace against Sweden, his 9th and 10th knockout stage goals of his career, more than anyone in the history of this competition. He is one goal behind Lionel Messi's all-time record of 19. One goal. And Mbappé did this in 18 World Cup games. Messi needed 29 games to get to that number. Think about that gap for a second. Messi is 39 years old, playing in his 6th and final World Cup, closing out the most decorated international career in football. Mbappé is 27, playing in his 3rd. He is not slowing down to catch Messi. He's lapping the timeline it took to get here. And here's the part that makes it unbearable to look away from. Both of them are still alive in this bracket. Messi's Argentina, Mbappé's France. Both could go all the way to the final, which means this record isn't a footnote getting settled quietly in a stat graphic somewhere. It could get decided on the pitch in real time, with both men watching each other's scoreline from opposite dressing rooms, knowing exactly what the other one needs. Now, here's where this tournament gets uncomfortable, because while the record chase has been the feel-good, it says a lot more about what this World Cup actually is. Ecuador just filed a formal complaint with FIFA. Not about a refereeing decision, not about VAR, about, let that sink in. This wasn't spontaneous. This was organized on social media. Home World Cup match against a team that had already had a nightmare of a travel day just to count it. They called it out directly. Conduct that stands in stark contrast to the principle venting on Twitter. That's an official diplomatic protest filed with FIFA, on the record. And Mexico won the match, 2-0. Ecuador is out, eliminated, and now... So now put those two stories side by side and really sit with the contrast. On one hand, you've got the most electric, purest expression of what makes this sport great. Two of the greatest players who've ever lived, racing each other to immortality in front of the entire planet. And on the other hand, you've got a host nation's fan base organizing a sleep deprivation campaign against a visiting team and getting away with it clean. Because as of right now, FIFA hasn't said one single public word about consequences. That's the same tournament, same month, same headlines page if you scroll far enough. Here's why this matters more than either story does sitting on its own. This World Cup has already broken the all-time record for total goals scored, and it's not even close. We are barely into the knockout rounds, and this tournament has already outscored every previous edition in history. Attacking football at a level nobody alive has ever actually watched. Mbappé, Messi, Haaland, Olise, the goals are flowing like nothing before it. This is being sold to you, correctly, as the greatest attacking World Cup of all time. That part isn't hype, that part's just true. Is a host nation's supporters running psychological warfare on a visiting team hours before a knockout match. No statement, no investigation confirmed publicly. Just silence. Why does that matter for the goal chase specifically? Because Mexico isn't done. They're through to face the winner of England and DR Congo. And if that hotel tactic worked once with zero consequences, there is nothing, literally nothing, stopping it from happening again. Not against Ecuador specifically, against whoever's next. Every visiting team walking into an Estadio Azteca knockout match now knows this is a live tactic, effectively sanctioned by silence. And every future host World Cup watching from home now has a working case study for exactly how to do it and get away clean. That's the connection nobody's drawing right now. The real story of this tournament isn't just greatest attacking World Cup ever. It's greatest attacking World Cup running in parallel with a host nation testing exactly how much off-field intimidation FIFA is willing to let slide before somebody forces their hand. And the record chase actually raises the stakes on that second story. It doesn't lower them. Because if Mbappé breaks Messi's all-time World Cup goal in the next 2 rounds, which by every number we've just walked through is close to inevitable, this tournament becomes historic on the pitch in a way that gets remembered forever. Highlight reels, documentaries, kids studying it in 20 years. Which means everything happening around the pitch, including a fair play complaint FIFA is currently sitting on and hoping fades out of the news cycle, gets scrutinized 10 times harder in hindsight. You don't get to have the single greatest goal-scoring tournament in history and quietly bury a fair play complaint underneath it in the same news cycle. Eventually, one of those stories drags the other one into the spotlight with it. Think about how this actually plays out from FIFA's side. Right now, the Mbappé chase is generating the kind of global attention FIFA loves. Clean, positive, commercially safe. The Ecuador complaint is the opposite. Messy, politically awkward, potentially embarrassing for a co-host nation FIFA needs to stay on good terms with for the rest of this tournament. Their incentive, in a normal news cycle, is to let one story drown out the other. But this isn't a normal news cycle. The bigger the Mbappé story gets, the more press credentials, the more cameras, the more journalists digging around Mexico's next few matches for any angle that isn't just another win. A fair play complaint that got buried on a quiet news day doesn't stay buried when the whole football world is suddenly watching every headline out of this tournament. I think we're about to watch that happen in real time over the next week. Here's my call, and I want you to hold me to it. Kylian Mbappé breaks Lionel Messi's all-time World Cup scoring record within the next 2 matches, most likely against Paraguay in the round of 16. The #1 story of this tournament on the pitch gets settled inside a week. Not a maybe, I think it happens. And because that goal record chase is about to dominate every headline, every highlight package, every conversation on every football show, FIFA is going to be forced to actually respond to Ecuador's complaint, whether they want to or not. Not because they've suddenly discovered a conscience about fair play, because the microscope on this tournament is about to get so much bigger, and a federation sitting on an unanswered fair play complaint during the most historic goal-scoring World Cup ever played is a story that writes itself for absolutely anyone looking for it. Here's the scenario that proves me wrong, and I'll say it straight. If Mbappé gets injured, gets benched, or France somehow get knocked out before he even takes his shot at the record, the goal record story cools off fast, the spotlight shrinks back down, and FIFA has every incentive in the world to let the Ecuador complaint quietly die in a filing cabinet with no cameras watching. That's the only version of this where the 2 stories don't collide. Everything else, Mbappé stays fit, France keep winning, the record gets broken on schedule, and I don't think the hotel story stays buried. I think it can't. So here's the question for the comments. Does Mbappé actually catch Messi in the next 2 games? And if he does FIFA finally do something about what happened in Mexico City? Or does the biggest goal-scoring record in the sport's history hand them the perfect cover to let it slide? Tell me I'm wrong. Next up, France and Paraguay, and we're going to know a lot faster than you think.